The Magic Sword Part 4. Morning and night she waited on Ning's mother, bringing water for her to wash in, occupying herself with household matters, and endeavoring to please her in every way. In the evening, before she went to bed, she would always go in and repeat a little of the sutra, and leave as soon as she thought Ning was getting sleepy. Now the illness of Ning's wife had given his mother a great deal of extra trouble, more, in fact, than she was equal to, but ever since Xiao Xiaqin's arrival all this was changed, and Ning's mother felt kindly disposed to the girl in consequence, gradually growing to regard her almost as her own child, and forgetting quite that she was a spirit. Accordingly, she didn't make her leave the house at night, and Xiao Xiaqin, who being a devil had not tasted meat or drink since her arrival, now began at the end of 6 months to take a little thin gruel. Mother and son alike became very fond of her, and henceforth never mentioned what she really was, neither were strangers able to detect the fact. By and by, Ning's wife died, and his mother secretly wished him to espouse Xiao Xiaqin, though she rather dreaded any unfortunate consequences that might arise. This Xiao Xiaqin perceived, and seizing an opportunity said to Ning's mother, "I have been with you now more than a year, and you ought to know something of my disposition. Because I was unwilling to injure travelers, I followed your son hither. There was no other motive, and, as your son has shown himself one of the best of men, I would now remain with him for 3 years in order that he may obtain for me some mark of imperial approbation which will do me honor in the realms below." Ning's mother knew that she meant no evil, but hesitated to put the family hopes of a posterity into jeopardy. Xiao Xiaqin, however, reassured her by saying that Ning would have 3 sons, and that the line would not be interrupted by his marrying her. On the strength of this the marriage was arranged to the great joy of Ning, a feast prepared, and friends and relatives invited, and when in response to a call the bride herself came forth in her gay wedding dress, the beholders took her rather for a fairy than for a devil. After this, numbers of congratulatory presents were given by the various female members of the family, who vied with one another in making her acquaintance, and these Xiao Xiaqin returned by gifts of paintings of flowers done by herself, in which she was very skillful, the receivers being extremely proud of such marks of her friendship. One day she was leaning at the window in a despondent mood, when suddenly she asked where the sword case was. "Oh," replied Ning, "as you seemed afraid of it, I moved it elsewhere. I have now been so long under the influence of surrounding life," said Xiao Xiaqin, "that I shan't be afraid of it any more. Let us hang it on the bed." "Why so?" asked Ning. "For the last 3 days," explained she, "I have been much agitated in mind, and I fear that the devil at the temple, angry at my escape, may come suddenly and carry me off." So Ning brought the sword case, and Xiao Xiaqin, after examining it closely, remarked, "This is where the magician puts people. I wonder how many were slain before it got old and worn out as it is now. Even now when I look at it my flesh creeps." The case was then hung up, and next day removed to over the door. At night they sat up and watched, Xiao Xiaqin warning Ning not to go to sleep, and suddenly something fell down flop like a bird. Xiao Xiaqin in a fright got behind the curtain, but Ning looked at the thing, and found it was an imp of darkness, with glaring eyes and a bloody mouth, coming straight to the door. Stealthily creeping up it made a grab at the sword case, and seemed about to tear it in pieces, when bang, the sword case became as big as a wardrobe, and from it a devil protruded part of his body and dragged the imp in. Nothing more was heard, and the sword case resumed its original size. Ning was greatly alarmed, but Xiao Xiaqin came out rejoicing, and said, "There's an end of my troubles. In the sword case they found only a few quarts of clear water, nothing else. After these events Ning took his doctor's degree and Xiao Xiaqin bore him a son. He then took a concubine, and had one more son by each, all of whom became in time distinguished men.